Chapter 8 What I Deserve. Hip was around 15 when he started crushing on Ruby, watching her from afar, mingling with the gang and that Sharptooth. How Hip envied him above all, for Ruby would hug him, show a great deal of affection towards him, that little monster. If only Hip were in his place, longing for such things, given his father wasn't really the hugging type. Thus his thirst for such tenderness grew stronger and stronger with each bright circle cycle. I deserve a little kindness. I deserve my due respect. I deserve to be beloved, just like everybody else. I deserve my place in the valley. I deserve an equal share. I deserve my rightful cut of anything, everywhere. Come, Ruby, am I asking for too much? Why should I have to beg for what everybody wants? Take me now, I don't care. If I have your love, I'll have no fear. Nothing's even, nothing's fair. Ruby, I didn't ask to be here. I'll pick the lock, I'll draw a claw, I'll climb the wall, I'll crush the rock. 'Cause I deserve a happy life. Whatever I'm not given, I'll take. Come, Ruby, am I asking for too much? Why should I have to beg for what everybody wants? I deserve a little kindness. I deserve my due respect. I deserve to be beloved, just like everybody else. I was given this life I'm living. You better make no mistake. I deserve to be given. Whatever I'm not given, I'll take. When Hip got up the courage and saw Ruby was alone, he decided to make his move. She was bent over the water, eating a shell whole. Hello, Ruby. Her eyes looked to him, knowing him, not well, but enough to recognize his gruff voice. With all his might, he tried to soften it, but there was no point, for it continued to come across as rough. So, I was wondering if you're not busy, did you maybe want to go for a walk? Just the two of us? Alone? Yes, we could talk and get to know each other better. Hip, that is very kind of you to ask. I would, though I have to keep an eye on Chomper. He's always sniffing off somewhere. You could spend time with us if you wish to talk. It always came back to Chomper, didn't it? Hip and his idiot pals, Mutt and Nod, met the little biter before. In fact, he found himself helping the game move fast biter eggs, risking their lives so the flesh eaters could grow into brainless killers. Personally, he wished to smash them, but no, that good-hearted Chomper wanted to spare them. Thus, Littlefoot and the others convinced him to assist for his own safety, of course. At one point, Mutt and Nod told Hip that when they were separated, Chomper used fear to get them to continue on, though Hip took it out of context, thinking Chomper threatened them instead of using a bit of wordplay, calling them out on their cowardly behavior. Regardless, after that, Hip never trusted Chomper. Chomper, huh? Hip clenched his fists, trying to keep his cool and not lose his temper. Littlefoot or Sarah could watch him for you. I prefer for him not to be there. Why ever not? Chomper isn't mean, won't hurt you. You can't know that for sure. He's a flesh eater after all. Look, I'd like it to only be us. You, me. That's it. No friends, no Sharptooth, okay? Ruby didn't like how forward Hip was, hearing a bit of anger in his voice for reasons she didn't know or want to. Hip, I think I should go. Wait, I'm trying here. Hear me out. Ruby, everything okay? Came Chomper's voice, creeping over undetected. He glanced from Ruby to Hip, who frowned at him. Hey, Hip, how are you? I was better before you got here, Hip said bluntly and coldly. Oh, sorry to hear that. Ruby went to Chomper, ushering him to walk. He has to go home, and so do we. Taking Chomper by the hand, She was relieved to have an excuse to leave. "Ruby!" Hip, in a desperate attempt to get her attention, reached and took her by the feathers on her back. "Ah, that hurts!" Ruby cried out. Suddenly, Chomper, recognizing Ruby was in distress, went to push Hip away. "She said it hurts, so let go!" Tiny, not nearly as strong, Chomper tugged at Hip's arm in a feeble attempt to help Ruby. "Release her!" he shouted, hoping anyone might be close by and able to aid them. When no one came, he grew fearful, the situation becoming serious. Suddenly, a foot harshly kicked Chomper back, Hip showing no sign of letting her go. "Get lost, Shorty!" Seeing Ruby struggle, eyes welling with tears due to the pain, Chomper let out a small growl, digging his claws into the earth before rising again. "Get away from her!" In a flash, Chomper bit Hip's arm, the one that held onto Ruby. "What the?" Hip shouted, letting go and hoping Chomper would release his arm. "Are you crazy?" Chomper detached, stepping back, not even using his full bite force, knowing it would have snapped Hip's arm right off. "I warned you. She asked you nicely to let go. You were just too stubborn to listen." Coming protectively between Hip and Ruby, Chomper bared his teeth in a threatening way. "Go, and don't come near her again." "You did it now. Just wait till I tell my father. They'll have you tossed out of the valley for this, Sharptooth," Hip called, leaving to rat Chomper out. By the next day, Hip's dad ordered for Chomper to be thrown out for such an attack, though he only heard one part of the story. Hip twisted the tale, claiming Chomper attacked him for reasons he didn't know. However, when Ruby and Chomper said what truly took place, the adults felt it was a simple squabble between young, nothing to get upset over. After all, Chomper never bit anyone before and showed no aggression toward anyone, even the bullies who picked on him and his friends. "I honestly didn't know what to do. Ruby was hurt and no one came to our aid. I was really scared what he'd do to Ruby if I left, or if we didn't get away." "Sounds to me like the boy defended the girl," Mr. Top said gruffly, glancing to Chomper. "Was that the way of it?" "Yes, sir. I feel really bad, though. Honest." Grandpa Longneck gave a nod to this. "Certainly, sir, in your days, you made mistakes. Why, we all have," Grandpa said in a calm voice. It was simply a big misunderstanding, for Chomper would never attack someone unless it was his last resort. "Are you all insane? He attacked my boy, and yet you show him mercy? Check your eyes. He's a Sharptooth, a monster, a cold-blooded killer. My wife is dead because of one of those things." "Your wife is dead because she followed Toronto," Mr. Threehorn added sharply. "He's still a monster. You can't argue against that." The words made Chomper sink with guilt, shamed by his mistake, and wishing he'd gone for help instead of biting Hip. Yet he was scared to leave Ruby, not knowing what Hip might do to her should they be left alone. "Our decision is final. Chomper behaved in a way to help Ruby, while your son displayed very poor behavior against the fast runner girl. If anything, I believe you need to teach your son that no means no." Grandpa gave the verdict, all the adults agreeing. "The only reason you think that is because your kids play with that beast. Favoritism, that's what this is. Wait till he grows and takes someone out. Then you'll see I was right." Hip's dad took his son and went to leave, shouting while he did so, "You'll see, you'll all see. Sooner or later that thing will turn on all of us." Hip was disappointed that the adults allowed Chomper to stay, telling him to maintain his distance from Ruby henceforth. After that, Hip was patient, knowing in time Chomper would be forced to leave, one way or another. He'd see to it. The youthful Hip aged into his mature self, rubbing the marks with his thumb. Yes, he got what he wished. If only he could get what he desired most, Ruby's affection. However, she was stubborn, putting up quite a set of rocks to keep him out. Still, he wasn't one to quit, and would try again. Leaving, he went back to his pals. Within the caverns, Ruby peered out. "Good, he's gone. I mean, can one imagine? He and I, together! Ew!" Ruby shuddered, sticking her tongue out for it left a bad taste in her mouth. Wanting to clean herself of the thoughts and grime of the day, She went to the collection of hot pools within the cave. There, she dipped a toe in, moving slowly to slip in till the water came to her shoulders. Neck sticking out, she shut her eyes and went all the way down, disturbing the surface on the hot pool. The ripples moved across the water, revealing a younger Chomper and Ruby, who stood along the edge. Ruby smiled and rubbed her hands together with excitement. Chomper was a bit leery, sniffing the steam that rose from it, finding it was safe enough. "Boy, Ruby, what luck! We have our own personal pools of water," Chomper said with excitement. Ruby kept him from drinking it, getting a feeling the water was different. "I don't think it's for drinking, Chomper, for it's warmed by something. However, I'm not above swimming in something heated, especially since it's the cold times." Rubbing her arms, Ruby shook. "I really don't like the cold times." "Me neither, but they're probably too deep for me to touch." Chomper peered down, unable to see the bottom. "Remember how I almost drowned trying to get the fast water back?" "You were tangled in vines, if I recall. Besides, I can help you." "Ruby, let's be real. Sharptooth weren't made for swimming." "You learned to talk, something most can't do. So who's to say you can't learn to swim?" Ruby made a good point, as she always did. There was no sense in saying otherwise, simply giving in and having to put faith in her, which he full-heartedly did. There was no doubt about that. Ruby went in first, holding her arms out to help him. Though scared, he jumped in and sank, feeling her arms grasp and keep him up. Once he surfaced, he took a breath and kicked his feet. "Right, so watch and do as I do." It was hard at first, Chomper struggling to understand how to move his arms to keep afloat. He took on water a few times, not giving up and wanting to learn. Ruby was there, never once leaving his side. From where they were, there was an opening above, the stars shining brightly overhead. All those days, watching from afar, all those years outside looking in, all that time, never even knowing just how blind I've been. Now I'm here, blinking in the starlight. Now I'm here, suddenly I see. Standing here, it's all so clear. I'm where I'm meant to be. And at last I see the light, and it's like the fog has lifted. And at last I see the light, and it's like the sky is new. And it's warm and real and bright, and the world has somehow shifted. All at once, everything is different, now that I see you. All those days, chasing down a daydream, all those years living in a blur, all that time, never truly seeing things the way they were. Now she's here, shining in the starlight. Now she's here, suddenly I know. If she's here, it's crystal clear. I'm where I'm meant to go. And at last I see the light, and it's like the fog has lifted. And at last I see the light, and it's like the sky is new. And it's warm and real and bright, and the world has somehow shifted. All at once, everything looks different, now that I see you. Now that I see you. They gazed up, holding hands and swimming. It was a night Ruby would never forget. Running her hand over the water to wash the vision away. So young, believing there was a future for them in the valley. A foolish notion in hindsight. She recalled the time leading up to Chomper leaving, and once again she found herself lost to the past.